I think we're probably ready to go here. It's almost 7:20. And we found out that Alex won't be here. And Emily, I know, had planned on being here, but has responsibilities with her new job. So she is not here.
So you probably want to do 4C, and then if Kristen wants to be
Yeah.
part of the discussion for 5C, that way, she gets done.
Thank you, guys.
Move 4C and 5C up to the front of the agenda at some point.
that would be appropriate.
We'll do it after public participation. Where would you like it? I'll make the motion.
Yeah. Let's do it now.
And I make a motion that we move item 4C, Board of Education update, and item 5C under new business, list of Board of Education and town reductions, to the third item on here after public participation.
A second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved, literally. We have Kristen, and we have this recording. So unless you have something else to say, Kristen, and Sawyer. Any comments?
I do. I'd like to thank from the Board of Selectmen, Emily Bradley, for her dedication and her time and expertise that she has given to the town as a volunteer elected employee, elected official, and I'm very grateful for all of her work and strong leadership.
So noted. We're gonna probably have some additional accolades for her when we get around to the reorder agenda here. So any other comments from the public? You're still part of the public right now. Anyway. Okay. Let's go on with the approval of minutes. This is gone on far too long.
No, you were gonna do 4C and 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So due to Kristen's situation, let's take 4C, BO update. I don't know if everyone reviewed. Hopefully they have. Kristen, do you have any comments you'd like to make at this?
Yeah, I'd just like to report that the budget is currently 5% expended for this year. We did not have any transfers in July and August. I do want to remind the board, I know this is no one's favorite statement, but special ed is ever changing and it continues to be. We have had our custodians did an amazing job all summer getting schools ready. We had a great opening of school. The energy was electric, and it was great to see and have the kids feel that. So and the staff as well. We have already had staffing changes. Not only did we deal with a lot of hiring and staffing changes over the summer, but we are still in the midst of staffing changes, and we still have staffing issues. So I guess stay tuned more on that as we continue to try to fill open positions.
Questions or observations on that comment? Kristen, I had, I forget where I heard it from, but I guess it was consequence of something that the BOE put out. Was I correct in understanding that over 13 new teachers were hired for this year?
Yeah, and still hiring. So yeah, we have quite a few new staff. I will say though, we've hired some, always sad to see staff either retire or go to other places for sure. I will share with the board that we had a number of staff who had intended to spend their entire career in Bolton, but they had some very generous offers to the tune of anywhere between $12,000 and $22,000 more a year. In a teacher world, that is a lot of money to go to other not so far away districts. So I just want to make the board aware of that. We also were able to hire some amazing new staff, both new brand new, fresh out of school, as well as veteran staff from other places who actually took a pay cut to come to Bolton because they wanted to be part of this amazing school system and this amazing community. So, that pendulum works both ways.
Led by a energetic superintendent. Kristen,
Mostly.
the other question.
I do. I have a question because that's a huge transition. It is so exciting to get, some new, fresh, young faces in there. And sounds like a lot of careers are starting here at Bolton. So that's really exciting to be part of that. However, it's a large number of teachers that have moved out. Have there been any consequences as far as programs? I know we offer things like honors programs, AP programs, and I know they require certain certifications. With the transition and everything, was there anything that had to be compromised?
Yeah, so we had one domino to that, but it was a course going to be offered this year anyways. It was one of those advanced courses that we offer every other year. So one of the staff that's new to Bolton, not new to teaching, so a veteran staff that we hired from someplace else has already said, I'm going to go for the training and be good to go for next year. So we have staff already digging in, so which is great. Fair question, though.
I have another one. In regards to the teaching itself, is it still going on? It's not, it wasn't a hybrid even last year, right? It was all in
Correct.
person, right?
We were all, and in fact, this year, last year we had an MOU with the teachers union in Bolton. I'd worked carefully with the union to craft it so that kids could be learning at home vis-a-vis coming into the classroom via Google Meet. If they had, if they were homesick because of COVID or whatnot, if they weren't too sick to participate, they could be at home and dialed in. The state legislature passed a law that does not allow that this year. So if a kid is sick home, like I am right now, and has to quarantine for 5 days, they're getting old-fashioned packets, like, before the pandemic that we used to hand out when a kid was sick to do makeup work. So that was, from my perspective, an unfortunate element. And I understand why, because teachers, it was just a lot on teachers to be teaching the kids in front of them and trying to manage the kids at home. It was a lot. But that law, the way it's being interpreted, has a far-reaching domino effect that I hope the legislature will look at this year.
Any other observations, questions? I do have one other. There's been a lot of publicity lately in regards to kids' performance in schools, and as measured even by objective tests, and shows a substantial decline. Now, I think a lot of those systems probably were still doing either at home or a lot of at home and not all in person. Do you think the Bolton kids received an advantage as a consequence of being in person?
Well, we weren't fully, we were fully in person last year, but the year before we weren't. We were hybrid at the middle school and high school until about March. We were hybrid until October for the K-5 kids. So, do we have kids with learning loss? We absolutely do, 100%. And we are digging in deep to address the needs of each individual learner and learning losses that have been identified.
Terrific. Ross has a quick question.
So we got new hires from what you were saying. How does that affect insurance and other costs? Because it sounds like you're saying some more expensive teachers left. And that would indicate that perhaps, your wage package is lower, which may give you flexibility to do some other things with that money that would have gone to salaries. And then, as I said, so 2 questions: benefits, insurance, and the other one around the salaries.
Yeah. So we're still in flux. So it's really hard for me to answer that right now. I'm hoping that I have a better feel for that come October, to be honest with you. But but we were up and down all summer, Ross, to be honest with you. Like every Friday I would get an update from Casal and Beth as to where we were. You know, we've hired X, they took Y. You know, there were some weeks where we were in the hole for insurance, quite honestly. And I decided that I just wasn't going to sweat it at that point because every week it changed. So, and there was where I'm like, okay, we may have to cut another position based on the hirings because we also had staff that left that weren't on top step. And we may have hired someone on top step to replace somebody who wasn't because we try to hire the best person for the job, not just, you know, what they cost. And quite frankly, I feel very strongly, particularly now more than ever. I mean, we always did that, but now more than ever, with learning loss being a factor, we absolutely have to do that. It can't just be about the money. It has to be about the kid from my perspective. I balance a budget, gang. I'm just saying, but I'm just telling you where that comes from. So, you know, maybe in October or November, I could give you a better feel for that.
If you could, I'll just make a note to bug you about that at our next meeting if you don't remember to bug me about it before then.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for all that information, Kristen. Any other questions or comments on item 4C? All right, then let's move right on to item 5C. I don't know if you're prepared to respond to this, Kristen, or not,
I am.
but the 5C on the agenda is a list of BOE and town reductions in order to
Yes.
comply with the approved budgets.
Yep.
Do you have any information to share in that regard?
Well, so a couple of things. I also want to report on what we anticipate our unaudited return is from last year. So we had an under expenditure of $625,770. We had committed, you may recall, a total of $200,000 towards this year's budget. So we are returning an under expenditure of $425,770. That amount really was driven by our inability to receive needed goods due to the pandemic and regular ed, special education, some things not playing out last year. I want to be clear on that statement. Didn't play out last year. Some have already played out for this year that we have not budgeted for. We had less legal costs because we had 2 negotiations with 2 different unions last year, and we managed to do those off the record. So it required far less legal costs than would normally be incurred. We had an inability to utilize professional development monies because of the pandemic. And as you well know, we were not fully staffed throughout the year for significant savings in salaries, which also created some health insurance savings. So I wanted to make you all aware of that. And then in terms of the reductions that the Board of Education took, I'm sure you probably all remember that as of the 4th referendum, the Board of Education budget was reduced by $148,000. Unfortunately, as a result of that, we had to eliminate 6th grade world language at Bolton Center School. And that was the elimination of a 0.8 world language position. The benefits also associated with that position were eliminated. We did have some salary savings at this point in time in July when we were doing this of $39,000 dollars, and we also cut professional development by $28,000 for a total of $148,000. So unfortunately, because of what happened in the 4 referendums, we lost a program and a position.
Okay, but I still note, and you do as well, I'm sure, that, you know, with the combination of all these circumstances, there's still $425,000 unspent monies. And, you know, I'm sure everybody recalls, you know, my prediction months ago was that total, without the monies that were put toward this year's budget, my estimate was about $860,000. And we're at less than 200,000, at like 425. But I do, as I search my memory for that, I do recall that I think it was probably as early as August this past year, we did transfer, or the Board of Ed utilized $87,000, I believe it was, from wages and salaries for other expenditures. So it does kind of push that back up in the realm of what my estimates were. But I do at the same time recognize there's a number of factors that went to contribute to all this. So I guess we'd say, again, a job well done under very difficult circumstances. And certainly our compliments to the staff. And hopefully they feel a certain amount of relief being in a more normal environment this year.
Great to be back, the kid.
Okay. I'm sorry, any other comments? All right. So, Charlie.
I don't have the paperwork here in front of me, but I did see from the Board of Education where they talked about $435,000 that was unexpended, is I guess the way that it's described there. And I'm thinking that it was something that was in the budget, and it just, for whatever reason, because there was a teacher position not being filled, or a health benefit not being due, or cumulative thing that had happened, that these were unexpended accounts that I'm sure are included in this year's budget for to be expended this year.
Correct.
But depending upon what happens again, even though it's an overage from last year, an unpaid or an undue, what happens with that 425? Does that go to?
Next year's budget.
It just goes in, yeah, it just stays in the general fund.
Yeah, okay. So it's something that we're going to be seeing down the road as well, as far as looking at again for budgetary purposes. So
Right.
it's something worth really mentioning, because as you had said, I had thought your original estimates were grandiose and high, but due to the circumstances, what happened this past year with COVID and everything else, 600,000 plus is still a lot of difference from what it was and to what it actually ended up being, and we may be in that position again this year coming up. So.
We could be. We're still having trouble getting goods. We're still having issues.
Yeah, that's, which is a different, which is also a problem, but it's the opposite kind of problem. We want to have teachers, but
Right.
we get more money available, but I would prefer to have the teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Good observation.
Okay, sorry.
Thank
Any
you.
other comments or questions before we move on? Okay, so at long last, the approval of 7 meetings
Well,
of minutes?
Under 5C, we have to talk about the town reductions.
Oh, town reductions. Okay, yeah, right.
It won't take long.
Okay,
So we had reductions of $64,000. There's actually a sheet in your package that describes this. Recreation was cut 18,500. That was a position that when we moved our our individual from the position of being a project coordinator for shared between recreation and the senior center, she got moved into the director of recreation position. That position went unfilled for the balance of last year. And we decided that with the reduction in services that are happening with recreation, we did not need to fund that this upcoming year. So there was a cut of 18,500 from recreation. We also looked at, Jill and I went back and we looked at accounts that historically had money left in them at the end of every fiscal year. And based on that, we discussed reducing the fire commission, their communication line item by $5,000. They agreed with that. So that was reduced by 5,000. Library payroll has typically been overfunded. So we reduced that by 5,000. The other half of the senior and social services program coordinator came out of the senior and social services budget at $14,080. We've historically had additional monies left in the budget with electricity, so we made a reduction of $10,000 there. You'll notice when we look at monies left over from the Board of Selectmen's budget that we had quite a bit of money left in tree trimming for last year. So we reduced tree trimming by $10,000, and we felt we were able to comfortably reduce 1,420 from refuse service and refuse removal. So that's where the town reductions came from.
Right. Adapting and moving on, we read those. And I'm also cognizant of the, continued trimming of the town side budget based upon what the actuals are coming in at. And it's good to see. And it's the way to get us for the townspeople and taxpayers to the, what we really need, so that we don't have excess money sitting.
And we're going to continue to do that. As we built this year's budget based on anticipated need, and I think we're jumping ahead in the budget, but
Yeah.
in the agenda, but like Kristen, we had positions that went unfilled last year. We had several members of our staff that were out on long-term medical leave and being paid by workers' comp. And so they, while we still paid, insurance and other benefits, we were not paying salaries. I still remain doing 2 jobs for the price of 1.
Thanks.
We have some additional, I can't keep it up forever. I am getting tired, but, so there, that's where this most significant portion of our savings came from. And, as you'll look at the numbers that Jill prepared for you, but the biggest piece of our leftover monies last year came from the administration budget. We also, like Kristen, anticipate, we negotiated 2 labor contracts in this last fiscal year, and we were able to do that without the use of a labor attorney. So, it saved significant money there. And last year we went into this year's budget with a 2% reduction in the administration line item. And because there was over $100,000 left in that last year, we'll look at that carefully again, and make sure that, we're making all the reductions where it's reasonably able to make that as we build this next year's budget. That's important to do. And so we're going to continue to do that.
I have a quick question for you, Jim. What I was concerned about, one of the things, many things I was concerned about with the budget, is where we cut areas where we're not able to supply and actually bring in revenue. And the one thing that sticks out for me is, the rec position. Going forward, I think we're all hoping next year there may be an opportunity. Is that amount going to be added in? Do you foresee back into the
So I can
next
tell
year's
you
budget?
this year, we were able to keep the lake open all summer.
Okay,
I asked Stephanie to provide for me a spreadsheet to tell me where we stood. We took in more money than we spent.
okay, good.
And we had summer camp, which was a very successful program this year. And again, I asked her to prepare because, we spend a lot of money on summer camp based on, the staff that we hire and the programs that we provide the kids. Some of these programs are just amazing and fun. Makes you want to be a kid again sometimes when you look at some of the things they're doing. And so again, I wanted to be sure that when we're, giving these kinds of programs that, we're at least at a break-even point. And again, we were able to take in a little more money than we spent on the program. So, we're able to continue offering these kinds of robust programs. It's been a very different year than we had last year. Last year, every program we did was a financial loss. And we had to, felt like we had to put money into the budget and plan to fund recreation in this upcoming year, based on taxpayer dollars. But, we're putting back into that, recreation round fund is what it's called. So that hopefully it becomes self-supporting again.
Okay.
And we're moving in that direction. It's really doing pretty well. You'll notice that, they're planning trunk or treat, there's gonna be an activity at the farm on the 25th. Recreation has helped us with that, although it's not a recreation sponsored activity. They're helping with that. Winterfest is gonna happen again this year. We're hoping for snow for Winterfest. So there's a lot of great things happening that we hadn't been able to do that, as COVID has eased up, we're really able to move forward with some of these great community programs that, I just think really those are the kind of programs that are just special for communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, the summer concert series was a hit. We had some really good, and, we continue to get, that program continues to get supported by sponsors as well. So that really helps offset the cost there. But so we're doing much better. So that's a good question.
I thank you for asking that, because I just want to just follow up on that a little bit too. I'm very glad that you're, got to focus on these, these activities, these amenities for the town, because not only do people come here because of our good school system, but also they're going to want to come here for the infrastructure, the public infrastructure, whether it is business, whether it is serviced by our town employees, whether it is these opportunities for recreation and enjoyment. And so I think that's something that we all need to keep. I don't know what the balance is, but it's something that I think we should talk about more. And just remember, what is that balance? What is it? What is the reason that people come to our town? And schools, yes, but it's also what are the services and amenities that the Board of Selectmen also. Because it's all coming out of the same pot. It's all out of our taxpayers' pocket. So I think I'm glad that you're having some focus on that, because we can't just be like a stripped down town.
Yeah, I don't think that's anybody's desire.
It's always been, to me anyhow, a real quality of life led by the schools. But, it's a wonderful town to live in. Let's face it, that's why we're here. Charlie.
I actually wanted to do kind of a combination of the two comments that I just heard. Is that number one, that the social services and the recreation department have been providing a lot of more programs that are being actively utilized by the town as well. And that's caused the success of the programs to accelerate, I think. And as part of that, you're also seeing that it's not just recreation alone, it may be recreation and social working together as different departments, or it may be recreational, library, and social working together, or social and library and town or Board of Education. We're talking about interplay between all the different groups, building upon success. So when I look at this and I see a reduction of the 18.5 or the 14,000 in those two departments, I'm thinking that hopefully they're being offset by the success of the programs, allowing even though these reduction in fundings made because they have been successful, and because with their continued success, we will be able to not have to worry about using everything in the budget. I know, like recreation, is self-supporting.
The programming has not been affected.
Yeah.
And we're coming out of the COVID era where programming was significantly impacted. But you'll see that there are, if you look at the Bolton Bulletin, the information that comes out from the library and the senior center, you'll see that there is a lot of programming that's happening. And there are things that are happening that haven't happened in a couple of years. And so I think it's important to note that programming, we're not seeing programming impacted, by the lack of that fund, in their accounts. So I think that's important, Charlie.
I was wondering if you could
could just clarify the cut to the social services, like where's that coming from?
So there's the position that we had was cut initially with the first round when the Board of Selectmen prepared the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. That was it was actually a new position that had only been, we only had a person in it for a very short period of time. And it was a shared program director's position between senior and social services and the rec department. And so that's where, so that's where those funds came from. But the other piece of it is that since we're seeing some success in the recreation department with revenues, we're able to cut a little more from the rec department budget because they're being offset by the revenues that the rec department is seeing. And it's the first time in 2.5 years or so that we're really seeing, revenues from the rec department that are self-supporting the program.
So I think that is reflected in the amount of participation by the.
It is. Yeah,
Yes.
we've had, although the lake was not as busy this year as it's been in years past. Again, when we looked at the expenses based on the income was enough to more than offset the expenses. And I think part of that was because, the rec director and my staff looked at the fees that we were charging from the lake, and the Board of Selectmen at one of their meetings before the lake opened this year did decide to increase the fees a little bit, which certainly helped. I think because of COVID, we didn't sell season passes because that became very difficult in the past. People bought a season pass, the lake closes either because of blue-green algae, and then they get upset because they paid for a full year pass and the lake's not open. So we only sold day passes this year. So I think that also helped with success. But, I'm not sure why, but, somebody shined on us this year. We didn't have any lake closures, which is very positive. We did have to spend some money on treatment of the lake early in the season for curly pond weed. But we had a good year. We really did. It was a good summer.
Sure, good comeback. Okay. I think we may have
We
wrapped
kind
up
of, we
our
kind of,
reordering
yeah, we kind of went a
of the
little further.
agenda and stuff. And we have 7 meetings worth of minutes to approve. Put out a special plea through Jill and asked that all members try to, read through the minutes and see if they had any corrections or whatever. My hope would be that if we don't have too many, I made one note only, that we might be able to do a lot of these in mass, but maybe the easiest way to do this with that hope in mind would be to just ask the members one by one here if they have a particular meeting that they feel needs to be amended.
I do. And it was the meeting that you were absent on that had questions about it. Was for May 25th. And overall, so the audio is there. If the audio wasn't there, I'm not really sure I would approve the minutes. Mainly because we were talking about cuts, and due to our charter, Emily did specifically mention that cuts had to be made. And that led into my statement. If you look at, Kate Gorley feels that cut needs to be on the town side. And that isn't entirely accurate because I re-listened to it. And what I did say was the larger amount needs to come from the town. Just because I was just talking about just cutting from the town. I had said that both sides need to be cut. And I think that does need to be corrected. There was also.
Before you go on, you want to suggest the correction?
Yes. I'd like to suggest that Kay Gorley feels that the larger amount needs to come from the town side.
Wait a second, I'm sorry. Nobody taking notes, right?
I had to find so it's in the lower paragraph on the first
Yep.
page.
Top paragraph up
Second
here.
paragraph, rebid.
That's a larger cut.
Yeah, larger amount.
It's mainly that first sentence at the top, right?
Uh,
Because we want all of the
It's like
cuts
the
to be from
second,
the
the
top.
second
Yeah.
sentence on the last paragraph.
and then there was one other spot on here. It was about people moving to town. Gosh, excuse me, guys. Oh, because that is what most people move to Bolton for. So if you turn the page and you look at the third row down, because the school is what most people, that is actually a lot of people. I didn't say most people, so that does need to be changed as well.
Any other corrections or observations regarding May 25? So,
I have one to do.
okay, please
Let me
fire
find
away.
it, let me find it.
Hang on, yep.
I got it. June 8th.
Under the initial public participation, last line, I was quoted as saying that that on all referendums, not just decide to vote on the last one, because even a no vote is a non-vote. I think what I had said was because a non-vote is a no vote. It was reversed here.
So we should say even a non-vote is a no vote, or just say because a non-vote is a no vote.
I think it should be because a non-vote is a no vote.
Yeah, so noted. Any other observations or corrections? I have one for June
You
22.
want me to find that one?
Okay,
Which is probably gonna be.
or C. We just have a spelling check here.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so, top of the page, go down,
Third sentence in the middle.
yeah, down to the fourth, I'm sorry, third line. Saying everyone should be cognizant. That should be CONGNIZANT.
Yep.
The proper spelling.
That's very Italian.
I know.
The cognizant is sort of like with the literati.
Was that it, Bob?
Yes. Okay. Any other comments on any other meeting minutes? Okay, so I'd like to, number one, have a motion that we accept the modifications and changes as proposed by various board members for the meeting notes of June 8, May 25, June 8 and June 22.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I would like to ask for a motion now to approve all 7 meeting minutes for the 7 meetings in question.
I will gladly make a motion to approve all 7 meeting minutes.
I would second that. I do have a comment though.
Okay.
On the April 21st, I think you see you had some strikeouts, corrections that were made. And
Yeah.
what we did was we made those corrections and we're voting now to approve those amendments. We were previously at another meeting. This is to formally approve those changes, as I understand. So I would, if you worded it, you should word it as amended and as presented
Okay,
tonight.
and
Okay, so I make an amendment to approve, what is it, all corrections from past minutes and the minutes we just reviewed.
any amendments,
And any what?
any
And
amendments.
any amendments, yes.
Okay, so we'll do it again. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, okay. And all those in favor, signal it, saying aye, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The minutes for 3 months or 4 months are approved. Okay, thank you. We'll go back into the regular order. of the meeting. Item 4, elected official and town staff reports, town collection summary. Jim, are you gonna handle that or?
Yeah, so you, I mean, I will defer to Pam on anything she wants to report on. Otherwise, I will move forward with it. You got anything, any comments you want to make about? Okay, so, part of this is the tax collection summary, which you have in your packet, which Lori has provided you. We have one that is dated 6/30/22. And it shows the previous year collections and we really did very, very well. I can tell you that in your second page where she has, started collecting taxes for this year, she is also very much on track for tax collection. Our second billing will be going out here very shortly. So, currently, she is at 96.82% of collections for this fiscal year.
Would you say that again, please?
96.82% percentage collected in FY '23 budget.
Okay, I'd like to back up just for a moment, if I might.
Yes, you want to ask about refunds, right?
Tax collector summary. So on June 30, 2021, we had 100.33. And we, as of June 30, 2022, we had 100.39. So the revised budget that we revenues that we were looking at was 17.926,438, and the net collection 17,995,000. So roughly $70,000 more than we anticipated in the revised.
So that probably a lot has to do with the change in valuation of automobiles. Right, so
With the higher,
with the higher values of automobiles.
yep.
Okay.
And we also have, budget when we had our back.
Right, we had back taxes, some significant back taxes were collected. Yeah, see, we did need you.
And as you were mentioning, the tax collector report went on to 8/31, right?
Yeah,
Um,
8/31/22. If you look at that, same percentage collected, we're at 96.82% of projected revenues have been collected for this fiscal year. As you recall, we were able to send out tax bills for the full amount of motor vehicle taxes, but a supplemental tax bill is going out for, personal property and real estate.
Because we were late. and also for the-
Right.
So right now, you might think that that's going to be another positive for us this year.
Right. I mean, right now, she's saying that, you know, she's collected 17,418, 940.19.
Right.
That's what she's collected to, as of 8/31/22.
which is only 20,000. Oh, I'm sorry.
Which is about 20, well, not quite, maybe not, about 19,000 less than this time last year.
Which was unfettered in regards to all these other things.
Right.
I see that as good news again. All right, that's why I'm like, thing.
And so
beyond.
beyond that, we, you know, similar to the Board of Education, we've expended about just under 6% of our budget for this year. We are showing, I think, on one page here is showing that a line item that we are watching.
Oh, fire marshal and.
Well, that's the fire marshal is showing a revised budget. But on the next page, Bob, you'll see this shows what is expensed year to date. And the flag for us right now is with elections. We're, you know, basically a quarter way through the year. We've got a November election date coming up. We've expensed 23.95% of our budget. So we need to be pretty careful with that budget and make sure that it does not get over expensed.
Okay.
You're missing, you don't seem to have found the page, but I'll show you mine.
So which page?
Oh, here it is, I'm sorry.
You would be kind enough just to mention which page.
I don't have a page number.
Oh, okay.
August 29th.
Yeah, on the upper left-hand corner, it says August 29th, 2022.
Okay, got it.
And so this shows as of August 29th, 2022, you know, where our expenses were at for the various departments.
Uh-huh.
What our encumbrances are, what the balance is, what the unexpended amount in each account is, and what the percentage we've expensed is. And it shows you also, and for fiscal year 2021 and 22, what we had expensed for those departments at the same time during those years.
Can I ask a question, actually, since we're two experts here on this? What is going to be the expected cost of the election, since we do have the two for the midterms, since we have the two? Okay.
So the, you know, so I don't know the number. Yeah. So we,
The number that I heard is that it was approximately 8,000, I think, for the primaries. I'm not sure. I can't say that, you know, quote that, but that's the number that I heard, you know, mentioned. So don't quote me on that.
Okay.
That's because of two districts rather than.
Yeah, 'cause
Right.
We're stuck.
14, something, 14.
Oh, it is?
But no, for both primary and.
Okay, yeah, because that's what we're expecting is something, I know, in that general area. And the challenge again that we have this year is because of redistricting, which we have no control over, it's going to be twice as much for going forward for, you know, hiring people to, you know, man the polls and do all that stuff. There's nothing we can do about it. Same thing when we have a primary, it becomes the double because it's effectively a Republican and a Democratic election in each of the two districts. So we want that, you know, so we're doing what we can, you know, where there isn't any requirement, you know, like with the primaries, we did look at, there's some things that don't really require to have two-party representation doing the job. So where we could, we left that as one person, but there's some like the assistant registrars you have to have. And same thing with absentee ballot counting. You really want to have, you know, different parties looking at the absentee ballots to make sure that we're both seeing the same things. So that's really, you know, the challenge. You know,
Right. And this is the first year we're dealing with that, you know, our registrars anticipated this and built the budget. The budget is significantly higher than it was the year previous because they did anticipate this. But it's their first experience with it.
Mhm.
Correct.
So, you know, we're trying to work with them, you know, to help them to make sure that we can make this budget work.
We're not gonna need any machines or anything, we're not just doing anything like that. 'cause
Now
it's-
we had the, we just had maintenance done on one from 4 February to 6 because we needed, you know, one again, one for the Republicans. And then you have 2 spares, one for each district. And we needed both spares because they both died. We had 2 machines die because of the heat.
Okay,
So we just had all the maintenance. We got 6 machines that are good to go. There's no anticipation that we would need to buy anything,
okay,
you know, at this moment.
Yeah,
right,
Well, the machines are close to 20 years old.
right. That's why I said, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, literally, yeah, because we don't know what's gonna happen with them. Even though they were maintained, they all went through with flying colors, we don't know,
okay.
because they're old.
I was just sitting stride at 20.
Some of them were borrowed. We only had one borrowed, but we own them all now. We had one borrowed from Vernon, and we gave it back to them. It was a bad one. It's one of theirs that died. So they got that back, and then we have one that's ours for good now. And I think the only other thing we may need is one more ballot box, you know, the big thing the tabulator sits up on, because we have 3 right now. And again, we have to have to go in primary.
But that's not a big expense.
I don't know the cost, I can't say.
Okay,
It's cheaper than the tabulator.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking, okay.
So,
And none of
you-
this is cheap because you access to certain vendors and then they have certain specs you have to meet,
Mhm.
you know, on this stuff. So some of this for purchasing things, there is discretion in some places and other places there is.
but it's one of those things we have to watch and try to work within the budget, you know, to the best of our ability. You know, so, you know, when we're at this point, you know, because the problem is, right, we have the primary, and now Ross is telling us we might have to have a second one,
Which we just
Right.
found out when we went to the
which certainly we didn't fund for that.
No, we didn't. And
Right,
Everybody, when the secretary wrongly mentioned that, if he was going through some case law, this came up. And I just said, so
Yeah.
consider that being mentioned.
Thank you,
too.
appreciate it.
It'll possibly be by, the end of this, September.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. I mean, it's the right that people have to challenge, and some of this is also because there was one election, I don't know if it's local or not, but first time it was 3 votes in favor of one candidate. They did a recount. It was in favor of the other by 1. They did another recount, and then it went back to the original 3 in favor of the first candidate. So I think that one, and I do not remember where, but that's one of the issues. And then there's another challenge by our Republican candidate of, what happened with his being endorsed by the independent party. And, but I don't think that should affect us because I think it's just changing a name, changing a name or removing a name on the ballot. We can always use it as a marker like we were authorized to do before.
Yeah.
But there is a possibility of another primary. So
Right.
again, completely out of our control.
So, we'll work, the end of the day, we'll work with our team to try to
Yeah.
work within the budget that's approved. And then, you'll see a number of transfers to close out the fiscal year 22. You have a list of those. Most of them were pretty small. The most significant one was for refuse services, which, had an increased cost that we had to deal with. All the others were pretty small. Fire department moved some money around to leverage some funds to get a hold of some things that got cut out of this upcoming year's budget. So, and then we had, one transfer for this fiscal year, which was other payroll to building and land use, because we did hire a temporary employee during the absence of our assistant building official, who's now back, but unfortunately was out for medical leave for a while. So unless you have any questions, that will conclude my report.
Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you
So
for
you're very welcome.
detailed explanations all the way through, and the same accolade for the Board of Ed and Kristen Pecht. I believe that we have satisfied all items under 4, which would move us on to 5, new business. Discussion and possible action, appointment of new Board of Finance member. Some of you might have noted that the erstwhile vice chair has been running this meeting because our chair is absent for tonight. We're going to get into that a little bit more in a moment. But I think taking our agenda in order, appointment of new Board of Finance member, I have in front of me a letter from the Bolton Democratic Town Committee, signed by the chair, John Toomey, indicating that they have made a decision to recommend Amanda Gordon to fill what is now a vacancy on the Board of Finance. And Amanda's with us here tonight. I know that this satisfies at least one requisite. Did the Board of Selectmen have to approve this appointment too?
If you do not.
If you do not, it falls to them.
Fall back to the Board of Selectmen, but it is your purview at the moment, and it's, you have enough candidates that you approve, then it is.
Okay, so we have spoken, I have spoken on Amanda's behalf previously at other meetings. I've had some history with her and can recommend her for this role and the town, and I welcome her enthusiastic participation. Any other comments by the other board members at this point?
I'll make a few comments. Amanda has my full recommendation and support. I think we have all taken notice that she has been highly active and one of our very few public participants that has shown up on a regular basis, which I think we all appreciate. She is certainly in tune with, the needs of the town. She's been following the meetings, the challenges that we've had, and she is up to speed and ready to jump in. I have no doubt. So she does have my full support.
We didn't scare you away then.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we need to have a motion on this.
I was going to see if there are any other comments here first. I guess you're right. Should be the other way
The
around.
only other comment I'd make is for the sense of just saying in general, not that I don't approve of you, and we have received no other requests for consideration.
I'm not aware of any either, Charlie.
It's much easier too.
With that said, could,
I make a motion to approve Amanda Gordon as a new Board of Finance member to replace Emily Bradley.
and I'll second by Ross. And we've actually kind of preempted it with our own discussion already, so I'm just going to call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? No? Okay, pass unanimously. I think her next move is to go, you have to get to the
Be sworn in.
town clerk and get sworn in. It's a scary moment, but I'm sure you.
Next month.
Okay, so moving right along, that brings us to election of officer. And this move is being predicated on the fact that Emily Bradley, who's been our chair now for, I believe, 2 full years, or almost 2 full years, has had to resign from the board because she has become a full-time employee of the town, more specifically the Board of Education, and a very necessary math teacher. I'm sure she'll do extremely well at that. And she'll be an asset continue to be an asset to the town. So I've certainly enjoyed working with her as a board member, and wish her nothing but good luck in that regard.
I'd also just like to, just recognize her service in the part, because I always thought she was very fair in how she, ran things, and I always felt she listened to everybody, gave everybody a chance to speak, and it's a tough job.
I appreciated all the effort she took into doing her position too. All the time that she spent attending the meeting, gathering information, presenting it to the board in a manner that, like you said, is fair and equitable too, without prejudice, it seems as well. She's an asset we're going to be losing, but the Board of Education benefits from it.
Absolutely.
And-
Now, Kristen actually has something that Emily wanted to have read into the record, I believe.
So Emily's words, even though she could not be here tonight, she says, to the members of the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Education, the town employees. Starting this fall, I took a full-time teaching position at Bolton High School. Because of the conflict of interest, I have resigned from the Board of Finance. Serving the past 6+ years on the Board of Finance has been a great experience. I have met and worked with some amazing people, and I am sad to have to leave the Board of Finance, but know that it is in good hands. I have enjoyed working with all of you over these past years. Good luck with the upcoming fiscal year, budget season, and transition to the new Finance Committee. I look forward to seeing you all around town, and I am sorry to say that I could not be there in person, but she had an open house tonight. So over at the Board of Finance, over at Bolton High School. So she was still thinking of everything.
Any other comments, any of the board members like to share at this point?
Can I
Well-
just say something, Bob?
Surely.
I appreciate all the work that Emily did, especially while we were transitioning to, online meetings in the middle of the pandemic and keeping that up and running, because that was no easy task. And I am delighted that she is a member of the public school staff. I'll just offer that. Thank you.
Did you hear that? Pam's blaming you.
I said that tonight.
Good smile.
Congratulations, Kristen.
Very excited.
Okay, so I've been informed by the Republican Town Committee that they have indicated that they would like to have a new chairman appointed. And the candidate that they have that they would like is Ross Lally, a present member of our board. I've had the opportunity to speak with Ross, and he wants to accept that role. I
know that other people feel the same way.
And from my part, I would just say good luck. Because-
He doesn't want to run the Zoom meeting.
I had threatened to learn how to do the Zoom meetings, but I tell you what, I've just been having too much fun, quite frankly, and I just haven't gotten around to do it. So I'm sure you're going to be skillful at it. And
Say all that, let's see if anybody wants me in the job.
So we need to make a motion for that, or do we?
I think you should,
I think
yes.
you should second it and all that other good stuff, and then see how it goes.
okay,
I think.
I would be willing to make that motion that the next chairman for the Board of Finance be Ross.
wow.
Wow.
Let's finish it. I second that. Any other comments at this point? Then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm sorry.
I'm just voting for myself too.
Oh, yeah, well, you can do that. So motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Ross.
And again, thank you all, and I just say, Kristen Heck, I'll be reaching out to you when you feel like you can talk, so we could get to know each other better. Same thing, Jim. I think I know you all well, but we gotta talk money and all that other stuff too. And the same thing with, with the
Jill.
Board of Selectmen. And the only comment, I want to just tell you what I really struggle with when we have these meetings is we keep saying Board of Education and the town of Bolton. And we're all the town of Bolton, and that's the part that I struggle with. You know, we could just say Board of Selectmen and Board of Education, because we're all the town. And that's the only thing I want to just say right off the bat. And then I'll let you, finish up the meeting and close it. But that's one thing I do want to just work on, is just making sure we all remember and can say it, is that we're all part of the town. And all the money comes from our taxpayers that we are trusted to make sure it gets spent, correctly, and it's a real balancing act. So I'm just acknowledging that all up front. So let's just try to remember we're all the same town.
Well, and I will say along those lines, and I love Kristen to pipe in here, Kristen and I don't see ourselves as separate entities. We just have separate budgets that we have to operate with,
Yeah.
but we work, very collaboratively on a number of projects. And, Kristen is very quick to reach out whenever she needs something. I'm also very quick to reach out. And I think, the finance staff on the Board of Selectmen side and Board of Education side have built some collaboration under the new leadership in the last year and a half that I think is encouraging. So, and we believe that is just going to continue to improve and get stronger as time moves forward.
I agree.
Yeah.
And Ross, I look forward to having us spend some quality time together, and you get your running shoes on, sir, because I'm gonna take you through those schools.
Yeah.
That completes our agenda. We actually accomplished everything we had to accomplish, including the final approval of 7 meetings worth of minutes, finally. So with that said, Russ's comment in mind, this meeting's adjourned.